Today we're going to start running our first titration experiments. Now, a titration experiment, you usually use titration in order to identify the concentration of something. Let's go ahead and go over our lab equipment. First of all, we have our ring stand, which we've seen several times before, and an Erlenmeyer flask. Now notice this one does not have the nozzle. We don't need the nozzle because we will not be collecting gases during this experiment. This is a 250 milliliter Erlenmeyer flask. And the reason that you use an Erlenmeyer flask, and the reason that we're using it during this experiment, because we're going to be doing a little bit of hand stirring. So that's going to be stirring this as shown. And the shape of this Erlenmeyer flask, this trapezoidal shape, allows or doesn't allow splashing to occur. So if you go super vigorously or start to shake it, of course it's going to splash, but you can stir gently and this will not splash. Also, we're going to be adding solution into the top of this, dropping it in through the opening, and when it splashes, the shape of this flask is not going to allow that to splash up and out. And that's going to be especially important when working with acids and bases because we don't want to get that stuff on our skin. The next thing that we have is a burette clamp. That's going to go onto our ring stand. So about 1/3 of the way down. This opens up here so that you can put a burette in. Now it's actually double-sided, so we can put a second burette on this side, but we're only using a single burette today. So we'll position this so that it is over our Erlenmeyer flask. And our newest piece of equipment is our burette. Now our burette is a thin, open glass tube. It's got a nozzle at the end and a stopper. This is graduated, which means that you can measure volume with this graduated cylinder. It's a second piece of equipment that we can use in the lab to measure volumes. At the top here, it has 0 milliliters, and at the bottom is 50. So this can hold a total of 50 milliliters of solution or liquid. At the bottom, we've got a stopper. And when it's in this vertical position here, that means it's open. If it's horizontal, it's closed. And so if it's closed, it will not let whatever solution or liquid is in here to flow out the nozzle. We'll stick this into our burette clamp. Position tightly there. It goes in the grooves in this. And it's now positioned to pour directly into the Erlenmeyer flask. Now in order to fill this burette, we're going to use a funnel since the opening is quite small. And prepare just some regular water here in a 50 milliliter beaker to pour into our graduated cylinder. Now, this is about 50 milliliters of water and there's a 50 milliliter burette, and so it filled it almost all the way to the top. In fact, right now, our reading is at 1.3 milliliters, 1.3 milliliters. And you can see I made sure this was closed, so in the horizontal position, before I pour it in so that I'm not losing anything right now. Now, this stops the solution right here, but the solution has to pour all the way out through the nozzle. And before you use your burette, you always want to clean it out. And our method for cleaning it out is to just run some of this solution, maybe 3, 4, 5 milliliters of that solution out through the nozzle so it eliminates any air gaps and any other impurities that may have been in there from the last time it was used. So we're going to open that right now, and hopefully you can see this on the video, but you might not be able to. But our water is just flowing out the nozzle here. The water level is dropping on our burette. If I stop it right here, we had our first reading, it was at 1.3, and now it is at 16.4. It's like 16.45 milliliters. And using those two readings, you can figure out exactly how much solution we poured into our Erlenmeyer flask. This is the second method of measuring out volumes, though. Why not just use our graduated cylinder, which we've been using so often? Well, with these titration solutions, we don't know exactly how much solution from our burette we're going to add. So we're going to add a little bit, stop it, take a measurement, a little bit more, stop it, take another measurement. And this allows us to add gradually. With a graduated cylinder, you'd have to measure out, add it, measure out again, add it. And so this is a lot quicker method to use when we're adding an unknown amount of solution. Now, if you're adding a known amount of solution, the graduated cylinder is going to be quicker. So, there we go, guys.